according to NFL Network's initial reports and later confirmed by ESPN, Joe Mixon will be missing a majority of that. The Texans running back injured his ankle over the offseason and had already missed OTAs and minicamp. Now, the aim is just to reevaluate him closer to the start of the regular season. Mixon's entering his second season in Houston at age 29. Time away from football for Treylon Burks is even less certain after the Titans wideout fractured his collarbone. The injury occurred on a diving, one-handed snag during team period at practice. Word of the specifics came courtesy of NFL Network, and head coach Brian Callahan said post-practice that the receiver's status will be updated at the appropriate time.
Trevor, Saturday was military day at Eagles camp. Every player on the roster gave their jerseys to select military personnel in attendance. Great gesture from the Super Bowl champs. We're only 12 days away from opening their preseason slate against the Bengals. Sal Paolantonio is with the Eagles to kickstart our whip around the NFL.
In the offseason, Jalen Hurts sought the counsel of Michael Jordan, and you could see in practice on Saturday, it was immediately paying off. The single-minded focus of Jalen Hurts is something that I haven't seen in a quarterback here, and I've been covering this team for 32 years. And as for Nick Sirianni, he told me in a one-on-one that this offseason, he sought the counsel of three people, Nick Saban, Peyton Manning, and Gino Auriemma, to find out what it takes to have, quote, sustained success, unquote.
It's Michael Penix's second year in the NFL, but his first training camp as the unquestioned #1 quarterback. And I've asked a couple of his coaches what's different about him. The answer seems to be kind of nothing. He's a natural leader. He's consistent. He's authentic in the way that he leads and the way that he conducts himself in the building. It's what they liked about him so much last year. It's the reason they drafted him so high, and it's the reason they feel like they're going to be able to plug him right into this offense this year and expect big things. It's been 8 years since the Atlanta Falcons made the playoffs. His fan base, his coaching staff, his front office are hopeful that Michael Penix Jr. can be the guy that breaks that drought.
The Browns quarterback battle rages on, and Kenny Pickett has put together 2 consecutive strong days. The Browns have been pleased with Pickett, who ended the day with a touchdown throw on the run. So the Browns quarterback battle will be a slow one because head coach Kevin Stefanski told me that he's at least a week away from prioritizing any sort of pecking order or depth chart. But in the meantime, Pickett and Joe Flacco will get a lot of the first-team reps. And Stefanski has lauded the work ethic and professionalism of both rookies, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, who was the last player off the practice field on Saturday. And really, the truth is, all the quarterbacks have had at least some trouble with this Browns defense that is showing shades of its past dominance.
Well, it's exactly what the Dolphins want to see out of their offense this coming season. What we saw at the end of this practice on Saturday, Tua Tagovailoa hitting Tyreek Hill for a 60-yard touchdown pass, one of several explosive plays in this practice. That is what head coach Mike McDaniel is looking for, but it's not just about what happens on the field, but also off the field. McDaniel wants to see this team be more accountable from top to bottom. So they're starting to see it on the field. Now McDaniel also.
Williams, a guy out of Washington State, someone who can elevate his game enough to make that kind of impact?
Well, the Patriots certainly hope so, right? And as you referenced, they have been plagued at this position at the NFL draft for as long as I can remember. Go back to the days of N'Keal Harry over a guy like A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel. It's really been a sore spot for the New England Patriots. But it does seem like they may have hit something here with Kyle Williams, as you referenced, the third-round pick out of Washington State. I was at Foxborough for the first 2 days of training camp, and he was one of the guys that really stood out. And one of the things that the Patriots have been sorely lacking, specifically last season, is explosive plays. They were last in the NFL in explosive pass play rate last season. It's something that they really need to improve on, and this is a guy that I do think can change the tides here. Of course, all eyes have been on Stephon Diggs, but Kyle Williams, a couple plays in particular. One, he caught a pass from Drake May out of the flat, and you could just see his burst after the catch. That was something talked about when he was drafted, and you're starting to see that breakaway speed already showing here over the first couple of days at camp. But the number one play that I saw over the first 2 days of Patriots camp was he ran a comeback route against Christian Gonzalez, the all-pro cornerback, arguably the best player on that defense, one of the best young corners in the NFL. Just straight up beat him, muscled down the football for the reception. Again, not pads, so we got to throw a little caveat out
like the one-handed snag on the sideline that we showed there in
Great.
slow motion as well. Hey, look, you made the point. It's not pads, but you got to look good in shorts and T-shirts as well. It can't just be in pads. One's got to lead to the other. All right, let's stay in the AFC. Changes at running back have arrived in Pittsburgh. No more Najee Harris. But talk about Caleb Johnson out of Iowa.
Yeah, I think we look at, okay, Najee Harris is now gone. He's a Los Angeles Charger. Now it's Jaylen Warren's time, right? He's the one that's going to step up as the veteran in that backfield. But hold on a second. I think Caleb Johnson, the third-round pick out of Iowa, is someone that you really have to pay attention to. 1,500 yards rushing last season for the Hawkeyes, 23 total touchdowns. And for me, he fits what Arthur Smith wants to do in that running game with the outside zone. Ran that a lot at Iowa. And again, he is someone who I think could really earn some early down work. You just look at the physical comparisons between Caleb Johnson and Jaylen Warren. Johnson, 6'1", around 225. Warren, a little bit smaller, 5'8", 215. I wonder if Caleb Johnson just kind of going to adopt that Najee Harris role. And Warren, while he may warrant a few more snaps as a pure runner, but maybe he continues as that passing down, third down, receiving back that he's been accustomed to over the last few years. The big question for me, for Johnson, will be how does it look when the pads come on? How does he look as a pass blocker? That's something that there was a little bit of a question at college. Didn't really need to do it too much, running primarily at Iowa. How does he work in pass protection? And if he's able to thrive in that role, because if you haven't noticed, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a 40-year-old quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. They need to keep him upright. If Johnson can thrive in that role, that'll warrant him even more snaps.
I will say we just showed the graphic of the Steelers depth chart there at running back. A lot of veterans in that room he can learn from, and if he rises above those guys, that's saying something for the rookie. All right, and there it is. Yeah, it's good producer work. Here we go. Yeah, look, right in the middle there, Kenneth Gainwell, Cordell Patterson, Trey Sermon, and of course Jaylen Warren, and Caleb Johnson certainly in the mix. We'll see if he can again rise above some of these veterans. Let's continue to stay in the conference or in the AFC. In New York is where we find Mason Taylor. Certainly has the NFL pedigree on his side with both his dad and uncle being Hall of Famers. Is the second-round pick out of LSU poised for a big rookie year?
Yeah, not too bad with the Pro Football Hall of Fame bloodline, right? But I think that this is someone that you really have to pay attention to. I think when we look at the New York Jets, there was a lot of change this offseason. New quarterback, new head coach, and even in the offense, you saw Davante Adams leave, and that's probably one of the bigger questions. But to me, I look at a guy like Tyler Conklin, who left in free agency for the Los Angeles Chargers. He averaged 82 targets per season over the last 3 seasons, and I think a lot of that, if not all of it, is going to go to Mason Taylor. You see the tight end depth chart here for the New York Jets. Not a lot there. Jeremy Ruckert doesn't scare me as someone who's going to take over for Mason Taylor. This is a guy that was a second-round pick, one of the top tight ends in this class. And I just see the opportunity here, not just for the 82 on average the last 3 seasons that Conklin is leaving, but I referenced Davante Adams. I don't know who the number 2 wide receiver is going to be for the New York Jets. Of course, Garrett Wilson just got paid. He's the tried and true clear number 1. But after that, you look at that wide receiver depth chart for the New York Jets, there's not a lot there. It's like Allen Lazard and really some names you haven't even really heard of. So I think that Taylor could not only be the number 1 option at the tight end spot, but this is a guy that could rival for the second most targets on this offense for Justin Fields outside of Garrett Wilson. Of course, Breece Hall could factor into that as well out of the backfield. But I look at a guy like Mason Taylor, and if he is able to thrive as a pass catcher, there's a lot of opportunities there, a lot of targets for him. And we've seen Justin Fields really favor the tight end. You go to Pat Fryermuth last season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, go back to his days with the Chicago Bears and Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet even led the team in receiving yards, the Chicago Bears, a couple of years there with Justin Fields. So he throws to the tight ends, and the opportunity is there for Taylor to take over.
This next one with the Chargers, it really caught my attention when I saw it when we were prepping for this, because the Chargers had an impact rookie at wide receiver last year with Ladd McConkey. Can they do it again with Trey Harris?
I'm going to throw a terrible pun out there. They're going to hope that lightning strikes twice in the second round
not terrible
at the wide receiver position. Ladd McConkey was the second-round pick last season. Awesome, unbelievable rookie year, over 1,000 yards. Was just an unbelievable addition for them for Justin Herbert. But you saw it last year specifically in that playoff loss. While McConkey went off, he had like this offense desperately needs a number 2 option. And you see here, Trey Harris, what he was able to do at the collegiate level last season, 182 yards, basically 129 yards receiving per game. You're talking about history he was making in the SEC, mind you. So I think that this is someone that you really have to pay attention to. He's someone that can kind of be that outside presence while McConkey works over the middle. You were hoping that maybe it could have been Mike Williams who came back in free agency, but he has since retired. Quentin Johnston hasn't worked out as a first-round pick over the last few years. So Trey Harris could, very similar to when we were talking about Taylor, is a young guy that could command a lot of targets early in his career because of the lack of presence elsewhere on the roster. So Harris is someone who has an elite quarterback, a number 1 wideout that he's playing opposite of Lad McConkey. There's a lot of opportunity there for him to swallow a lot of those targets.
Everyone's favorite story during the draft was, where would Shedeur Sanders land? He lands in Cleveland, but he was not the only rookie that they drafted. No, Dylan Gabriel, part of that draft class as well. And there's the quarterback room: Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, plenty of NFL experience. Then it's the 2 rookies. But what do you think about Dylan Gabriel, or what do you believe may be able to separate him from this crowd?
Yeah, he is my underrated quarterback to watch. And you referenced it there, right? Yeah, Shedeur Sanders was the story of the 2025 NFL draft because of his free fall. But let's not forget that there was a quarterback taken ahead of Shedeur Sanders on this roster in Dylan Gabriel. They chose Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders in the 3rd round. They ended up just taking Shedeur Sanders later on in the 5th. But when they had a decision to make at the quarterback spot on day 2 of the NFL draft, they chose Dylan Gabriel. That has to count for something, right? As much as we're tantalized by the potential of Shedeur Sanders, it doesn't seem like the Cleveland Browns are. Yes, they took him, but they look at a guy like Dylan Gabriel, who's very experienced, 24 years old, an older quarterback prospect. But we saw a guy like Bo Nix last year at the same school be an older prospect and still thrive. So this is kind of where the Cleveland Browns need to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves what they want to do and what do they want to accomplish in 2025. We saw right there the list of quarterbacks. It feels like Joe Flacco could have the inside track to start week 1 this season just because he has the experience